Welcome back, y'all. Yeah, I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened with the last stream. It just ended. I guess it's
I think YouTube. I think YouTube stop it when it's just on a dead screen after a
yeah.
while.
I mean, whatever. Started another one. It's all good.
We had that
Sorry.
happen with Popcorn Planet during the depth trial.
Sorry, I'm munching because I had to get snacks. I can't do this without snacks. These long ones, it's not happening.
Oh, good. I took a quick drive to the servo and got a pie.
Yeah, man. Like, I'm eating Andy Cap's ranch fries. They're not that great, but
I got a box of these TV snack things that are supposed to taste like the glazed Krispy Kreme donuts. So let's see how genuine they are. Probably not very.
got me a big old bottle of Mountain Dew.
Oh, I wish.
Panda's not even down here. I don't even think Panda wants to be down here right now, which is shocking. But
I want a panda.
she's pretty awesome. And I'm surprised too because it started raining and thundering, and she gets really, really jittery and wants to be closer to me when it's raining and thundering. So
I miss the thunder. You'd think up in the tropics we'd get it, but no, not really. We get tons of rain, but no thunder.
Yeah, I guess it freaks her out. But since we moved into this house, I don't know. It's not as bad. She like we thought 4th of July was gonna freak her out, and we live in an area where like everybody's setting off fireworks on 4th of July. Like this is a red area, man. Like you got like some really, really. You want to talk about Trump supporters? Oh, there she is. There's Panda. Hi, Panda. You want ranch fry? Here you go, baby girl. That's a good girl. Yeah, I mean, yeah, these people are definitely lighting up their fireworks on 4th of July, but she didn't
Lemmy the squirrel. Yeah, after I have Taco Bell, maybe.
You didn't know if I had any thoughts on what on you not being here? I mean, I cannot express how much I missed you immensely. All right, look, we're back on. What's up, Tommy Hortons? That's my boy right there. You can have these things, man. They're really not that great, dude. Pretty bad, actually. The hot ones are better. I just watched the Uber driver. Can't imagine how she felt dropping him off to later find out he was not going to music class but was going to shoot. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I would just be annoyed with the whole thing because she didn't, you know what I mean? She didn't have any, I mean, how's she going to know? You know what I mean? She has absolutely nothing to feel guilty about.
I'm sure she beat herself up a little bit afterwards, but it wouldn't have taken long for her friends and that to say, you had no way of knowing.
Now she's going to be all over the news, and then there's going to be idiots that are going to like find her on Facebook or whatever and then send her nasty messages and, because they're stupid. But, I mean, I don't know. I don't think.
I think she's more likely to get swamped by the supposed true crime channels wanting interviews and crap.
Right. I mean, I mean, that's the thing is I could see myself like reaching out to somebody like that, but after seeing her testimony and then thinking about it for 2 minutes, not even 2 minutes, I'm thinking, okay, well, I mean, what could have possibly happened that wasn't discussed in the trial? And on top of
Exactly.
that,
What exactly could you share? That's like
and she wouldn't be,
those
I'm
two
sure
dick
she was
freaks the other
advised,
night.
she's not allowed to talk about anything. So,
Yeah, she can't talk
I
about it
mean,
during the trial. She can now that she's finished testifying.
you think so?
Yeah, I know so.
Yeah,
I
well,
mean, what can she really offer? I mean, it's like those two
that's
dick
my point.
flukes the other night talking to the chiropractor. What's a chiropractor going to be able to tell you about
Yeah.
complete waste of time? But then it is Katie Joy and her clone, so what do you expect?
Well, I just hope that she doesn't feel guilty because she has no reason to. But she didn't seem like it on the stand at all. She just seemed like,
No.
I did my job. You know what I mean? Like somebody's got a working credit card or a bank card, and it's within for me to pick up the passenger. I'm not asking him any questions for any other reason other than to be polite and try to get a 5-star. That's it. Maybe a tip.
Her job is dropping him from point A to point
Yeah.
B, offering him a bottle of water, and that's it.
If that, I still give 5 stars when they don't give me a bottle of water because normally I turn them down anyway. But you always
I've
give them
never
5
been in
stars,
an Uber,
even if,
so
really. I mean,
really,
yeah. I mean, they're pretty convenient because they're quite affordable. Like they put the
I know
taxi
Uber
business
drivers, but
completely. Yeah, they put the taxi business completely out. Like it's
well,
almost
yeah, we had a
just
big lawsuit here over it. When Uber first came to Australia, all the taxi companies had a
a lot
big
of places did.
class action to try and shut them down.
You got to watch a mini series from Showtime that's called oh my gosh, Super Pumped. It's called Super Pumped, and it's basically about the startup of Uber and the really really cocky CEO who started it. Yeah, he's a dick. But it's interesting to see how it grew and how it affected the taxi business. All right, they're already not wasting any time. Next witness here. Is there enough volume? Yeah, it's as high as it goes.
My name is Stephen, Stephen, middle initial.
Oh, I just realized on my other phone for the chat, I'm signed in under my new YouTube channel account. So Matt Bond Music Studio is me,
Chief Medical Examiner,
in case people are wondering.
Broward County Medical Examiner and Trauma Services.
How long have you worked with Broward County Medical?
7 years.
What is your education?
Bachelor of Science degree from Syracuse University, 4 years. Medical school, Howard University, 4 years. Medical degree. Residency in anatomic and clinical pathology, 4 years, ending in board certification. 1 year forensic pathology, ending in board certification.
Okay, so where's the part that's supposed to impress me, bro? I'm kidding. That's actually really impressive.
Employed by the U.S. Navy, multiple
Wow.
duty stations. Most recent duty stations, Dover Air Force Base.
Yeah, otherwise, all around badass.
30 years. July 1st, 2015. Captain.
Do you have any certifications?
I do. I have certification in anatomy and clinical pathology certified. I have certification in forensic pathology certified.
You don't, I mean, yo, you think they could have gotten an expert maybe? Jesus.
I'd like to call your attention to Wednesday, February the 14th, 2018.
Ah, they
You
fixed
had
the
a date
volume.
to respond to a certain location.
I did.
Where did you respond to?
Marjorie Storm, MSD High School.
And you went there because what?
I was the deputy chief medical examiner as I was responding at the direction of my boss, who was the chief medical examiner, Dr. Mallett.
As a medical examiner, have you testified as an expert in forensic pathology before?
I have.
And how many times?
20 to 30, best I can tell.
In what courts?
Both federal and civil.
So when you responded to Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, what did you do?
Basically, when we first got there, we...
Thanks, Squirrel. It's
met
going to
my
be cool when I finally get
investigators.
it up and running. I'm
Initially,
setting up my
waited
studio
for
now.
FBI to complete crime scene investigation. At that point, myself and the 3 investigators entered the building and basically completed photography on decedents and basically placed decedents in human remain pouches for transportation back to our office.
Okay. On Thursday, February the 15th, 2018, you have occasion to perform an autopsy.
I did.
Let me show you state's exhibits. I'll read this into the record, Doctor. 21H, 21G, 21F, 21E, 21D, 21C, 21D, 21A, 20Z, and 5E. Dr. Robinson, you good enough to take a look at these exhibits?
Yes, sir.
Yes, the last I heard, Cruz is pretty much hoping to get the death penalty.
And now a moment from our sponsors.
You recognize those?
I do.
photographs? Okay. And who is that?
This is our case 18-0530, also identified.
Tastes
as
just
Nikolas
like
Doré.
liquid sunshine.
And you performed an autopsy on Nikolas Doré?
I did.
Did you happen to see Nikolas Doré when you were at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas on February 14, 2018?
I did.
All right. Would these photographs, Doctor, aid you in explaining to the court and to the jury the nature of Nikolas Doré's wounds and his cause of death?
Yes, they would.
Okay, thank you. Your Honor, at this time I'd like to offer State's Exhibits 21H, 21G, 21F, 21E, 21A, 21C, 21B, 21A, 20Z, 5.
At his plea hearing, the judge kept asking if he had any questions about giving up his rights and whatnot, and the only thing he wanted to know is if he could make a statement to the families.
I wonder how that flies. Are they going to let him do that?
He has every right to.
Really? Okay. I mean, I guess so.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, it makes sense. It just seems like, you know, are they going to risk him saying something really shitty. You know what I mean? Like abusive.
Oh, no. He'll be, sucking up. I'm so sorry, blah, blah, blah. Trying to make excuses.
Likely, yeah.
He will get to make his statement after the victims make their impact statements.
Is there any objection?
Yes, ma'am, we object to use of photographs based on all the restrictions and grounds outlined in DMIL 12, please.
Okay, so noted. Over the defense objection states 20Z as in zebra for identification will be received as 325.
Thank you
like zebra
for that,
will be
whoever
entered as 325.
at the courtroom did that.
21A as in alpha, 326. 21B like Bravo, 327. 21C like Charlie, 328. 21D as in Delta, 329. 21E will be entered as 330. 21F
I think
as
he
in
does
Frank,
feel a bit of remorse.
331.
Well, I think he feels
21G
remorse
as in
now
George,
that
332.
he's been medicated and
21H, 333.
actually gets what he's done.
Dr. Weller, put some mark in that. I want to show you State Exhibit 206. You recognize that person?
I do.
Is that Nikolas?
It is.
And age and height and weight?
17 years, 72 inches in length, and he weighed 174 pounds.
Wait for these photographs.
There are some marks on the screen. I don't know if you can see there's like 4 arrows
I got it.
and some check marks. There you go.
Thank you.
Oh, so this must be one of the medical examiners.
Well, yeah, he's testified in anywhere between, I think he said 22 to 30 cases, both civil and criminal, as far as being a medical examiner and an expert. I mean, this dude is qualified. Did you not hear all of his qualifications? It's crazy.
No, it was too quiet
He's got
when he was started going through his qualifications.
He's got so many PhDs.
I was watching a video the other day where they did autopsies on football players that were known to abuse their spouses.
Right.
And one of the things they did was they actually scanned and checked their brains for injuries in certain sections to see whether there was any common denominator that was
There's
causing
a
the aggression in
condition.
that.
Yeah, there's a condition.
I wonder if they've ever done that with a
Dr. Robinson,
one of
I'm gonna
these
show you State
mass
Exhibit
shooters.
mark, 325 has been reduced in evidence.
I mean, but what head injuries? You know what I'm saying? Like,
You have that labeled wound A.
Could be
correct?
something
That is
that's just grown from birth or something.
Could you tell us what that is and what damage that wound caused?
I mean, but
What we're looking at, the wound labeled A, is an entrance gunshot wound. Basically, what the damage it caused.
yeah, I would call
basically passed
bullshit on
through
that.
his right shoulder, going under the right clavicle or collarbone, lacerating, transecting the right subclavian artery and vein, also noted as the right subclavian
I'm
vessels.
sorry, could you just speak up a little
Oh,
bit?
well, okay.
If you wouldn't mind just scooting the
Scoot.
chair a little bit towards the microphone, that would probably be.
Okay. Again, the bullet passed under the right clavicle or the collarbone. At that point, transected or lacerated major vessels, specifically the right subclavian artery and right subclavian vein. It proceeded to pass through
Ouch.
the upper part of the right lung, From there, it entered the pericardium, which is the heart sac surrounding the heart. At that point, it also lacerated what's called the right main bronchus, which is a breathing tube that goes into the right lung. It lacerated the aorta, which is the major vessel leaving the heart. It actually passed through the left side of the heart, exited the lower left side of the heart, passed through the lower portion of the left lung, and lodged in the left side of the chest wall.
Jesus. The condition with football players is
Oh,
called CTE.
crap.
Now, I'll show you.
That's the one, yeah.
CTE, yeah.
Marked 326, Dr. Robinson. Don't put that in.
This labeled our number 180530. This is a graze wound. It's a grazing gunshot wound of his abdomen.
Okay. And a graze wound as well.
A graze wound is when the bullet passes very close to the skin but doesn't enter the body or lacerate the skin, but basically abrades it or scrapes it as it passes by.
And show you State's Exhibit 327.
Again, this labeled 18-0530. This is for orientation purposes. This is the left thigh, the front of the left thigh. And it's a very similar wound. This is a graze wound of the grazing gunshot wound of the left thigh.
The graze wound to the left thigh and to the abdomen. Can you tell whether those two graze wounds were prior to the shot, fatal shot in the shoulder that went through his heart?
I cannot.
Okay. So you can't say if they're post-mortem or ante-mortem?
That's correct.
And showing you State Exhibit 328.
What we're looking at for orientation purposes is the right hip. And the wound labeled B is a ballistic injury, penetrating ballistic injury.
And what significance is that wound?
It's a wound caused by fragments, sometimes referred to as shrapnel, not specifically a gunshot wound in so much that you have a projectile, but just fragments that are traveling.
I'm sorry, I'm having trouble hearing you. Could you just scoot a little
Scoot,
bit?
okay.
Thank you. Sorry.
Basically, this is a type of wound that is called ballistic injury. It's not a gunshot wound per se because we don't have an intact or partial projectile. It's more like fragments flying. Like we said, something has been referred to as shrapnel before. And this is a penetrating injury here, and this one penetrated to a depth of approximately 1/8 inch, so it's fairly superficial.
Was there hemorrhaging in the wound?
There was.
And what does that mean?
That indicates that there was blood pressure and most likely represents ante-mortem injury.
So prior to the shot in the shoulder.
Prior to or very close in proximity to.
State's Exhibit 329, Dr. Robinson.
Again, for orientation purposes, we're still in the right hip, just a little bit lower down. This is also a penetrating ballistic injury. As we talked about, it's basically fragments flying. This was a deeper penetration. It went to a depth of approximately 3.5 inches into the muscle.
Was there hemorrhaging?
Jesus.
There was.
Indicative of what?
Ante-mortem injury
Okay, prior to that.
prior to death, yes.
And State's Exhibit 330.
What we're looking at is the side of his right ankle. These are multiple superficial ballistic injuries, basically metal fragments and other types of things that are just flying and penetrate the skin at that point.
Dr. Robinson, were you able to determine the cause of death of Nikolas Cruz?
I was.
What was the cause of death?
Gunshot wound of the chest.
And I will show you State's Exhibit 331.
What we're looking at labeled decedent's name, projectile, left chest, is the projectile removed from the decedent's left chest.
Your Honor, have there further questions of Dr. Robinson? Thank you, Dr. Robinson.
Thank you, sir.
Defense, any questions?
No, man.
Great, thank you, sir, for your excuse.
Yeah,
Thank you, Your
don't.
Honor.
Defense better not ask that dude any questions. The best thing you could try to do is discredit that guy, and you lost that when he just gave his credentials at the beginning of his testimonies. Like, there's just no way you can discredit this guy unless you've got like real dirt on him.
Yeah, they'd be crazy to try and
Right.
cross him.
Dr. Wendelin
They'd be
C.
crazy to try and cross any of the medical examiners unless they've got something serious to,
Yeah.
like an independent report.
Like an independent report that reveals that they botched 2 other cases, or even one bad enough. But like, does a guy like that look like he's even capable of botching anything?
As soon as he described the fatal wounds, yeah, they had no chance at crossing him.
You notice they didn't make him go over all of the victims either. That would have just been overkill. Like, they made their point.
I think they will be going through all the victims from what they said before. I think it is they had multiple medical examiners.
I'm sure there were, but
Because they would have wanted to get them all done in a timely manner to identify them. And
so, and he did say he was retired since 2015. So
yeah,
it just seems like he volunteered for this because he seems well overqualified to be a medical examiner. You see what I'm saying?
yeah.
Like,
Weirdly enough, it doesn't really take much to be a medical examiner.
right. I mean, you don't need like 10 doctorates like this guy had. I mean, I'm exaggerating, but it took a dude well over a minute to explain his qualifications.
Medical examiner's office.
How long have you been
It will be 3 years in August.
And prior to that position, where did you work?
At the Broward County Medical Examiner's Office.
Oh, she's got to follow that guy? That's a tough act.
About 3.5 years.
Prior to that?
Maricopa County Medical Examiner's Office in Phoenix, Arizona.
I'm sorry?
In Phoenix, Arizona.
In Phoenix. And how long were you there?
About 1.5 years.
Okay, before that?
I was at the District 21 Medical Examiner's Office in Fort Myers, Florida.
Okay. How long were you there?
A little over 7 years.
Okay. And how about your education?
I did my medical school at Ponce School of Medicine in Puerto Rico. I did a residency or a specialty in pathology at the Mount Sinai Medical Center of Greater Miami Beach. After that, I did my subspecialty in forensic pathology at the Miami-Dade County Medical Examiner's Office, and then I was hired as a staff in that office for about 3.5 years.
Are you board certified?
Yes.
What are you board certified in?
In anatomic
She's
pathology,
pretty well qualified
clinical
too.
pathology, and
She is,
forensic
yeah.
pathology.
I guess that's why
Yes,
she's
in
the
the
chief
state of
medical
Florida.
examiner, but
I'd like to call your attention to
She is licensed to practice medicine.
February the 15th, 2018. Where were you working?
At the Broward County Medical Examiner's Office.
And, what were you doing that day?
On that day, I performed multiple autopsies in the cases associated with the high school shootings.
Okay, the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas shooting.
Yes.
Prior to that date, how many autopsies had you?
I can't recall. I'm about 3,000 now.
Okay.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, she's qualified.
Those autopsies, were you able to determine the cause of death?
Yes, that's part of my job.
And approximately what percentage of those autopsies were you determining the cause of death? Was the cause of death caused by gunshot wounds?
I don't have the numbers, but I do many cases of gunshot wounds.
No, she is definitely
have the actual
Hispanic,
number.
Ange Carter. I
Have you
promise you.
testified as an expert in forensic pathology and court record?
Yes.
How many times?
She's originally from Puerto Rico, she said.
What courts?
Yeah.
In Miami-Dade, in Fort Myers, District 21, in Maricopa, in Broward, and Palm Beach.
Okay. I want to show you now states exhibits 20D, 20C, 20B, 20A, 19Z, and 19Y.
I'm in West Tennessee as well. I don't think it's storming bad yet, but it will be.
Let's see if you recognize that.
Hopefully. I mean, it needs to cool off because it's too hot.
Yes.
And how do you recognize them?
The photographs have the unique identifier, which is a number provided at the medical examiner's office that was associated to Mr. Hickson.
Christopher Hickson?
Correct.
Okay, and did you perform an autopsy with Christopher Hickson?
I did.
All right, showing you state's exhibit mark 100 that has already been introduced in evidence. Is that Christopher Hickson who performed the autopsy?
Yes.
With those photographs that I just showed you, those exhibit numbers, they aid you in assisting the court and the jury in understanding the nature of his wounds and the cause of death.
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, I would like to offer state exhibits for identification 20D, 20C, 20B, 20A, 19Z, and 19Y.
Any objection?
Yes, sir. She looks like one.
Okay.
I wonder what this sidebar's for.
Over the defense objection, what's been marked for identification of states 19Y will be received as 334, 19Z like zebra, 335, 20A as an alpha will be received as 336, 20B as in Bravo will be received as 337, 20C as in Charlie will be received as 338, and 20D as in Delta will be received as 339.
I think they're deliberately getting him to sit like that to make him look weak.
Yeah, yeah, you're most likely right. I'm thinking that they, if he continues to do that, you know, he presents an image of remorseful and non-threatening mostly.
Can you tell me what that shows?
Yes. Can you raise it up a little bit so I can see the number, please? Raise it up, raise the photograph up a little bit. Thank you. Yes. So what this
But if
photograph
they're able to
shows
bring in the
is
extra charge
basically the
of
upper
battery of a Leo
torso, the anterior
into this
aspect of
trial,
the chest.
he's screwed.
In this particular photo, towards
Battering
the
of
top
a what?
of the photograph, you can see the chin
Battery of a
of Mr.
Leo,
Hickson.
law enforcement
And then
officer.
on the to your
Oh,
left side, you can see the right arm.
When he
And
kicked the
then
ass out of the
left
prison guard
upper
and
chest,
took his
you
taser.
see two defects,
right.
which are entrance gunshot wounds.
All right, they're both gunshot wounds to the chest.
Oh,
Correct.
Chris, I don't know. Hopefully
The upper wound.
next week.
Tell us what damage that did.
Yes. So that particular wound perforated the muscles
Maybe end of this
of
week,
the
next week.
left side of the chest. It also perforated the between the ribs. There are muscles as well that help us breathe. So it perforated the intercostal muscles of the third space. It perforated the left lung, and then it went through the muscles of the back. And in doing so, it also fractured the left fourth and the left ninth ribs.
Oh,
The lower wound was going in a different pathway. The lower wound perforated the chest. It fractured the sternum, which is the bone in the middle of the
ouch.
chest where the ribs connect.
The breastplates.
It also perforated the costal cartilages. So the ribs have cartilage on the anterior aspect of multiple ribs,
Ouch.
7th through 10th. And then it also perforated the right lung, and then the right side of the diaphragm, which is
Oh,
a muscle that
crap.
helps us breathe. And then in the abdominal region, it perforated the liver and abdominal muscles. And then it exited through a defect in the abdomen, leaving behind fragments.
Yep, that dad knows exactly what this means.
Fatal in and of themselves.
Yes, both.
Both?
Yes,
So he would have died of either just one wound.
correct.
Showing you state's exhibit mark 331.
So this particular wound, what you're seeing on this photograph is towards the top of the photograph is the head. You're looking at the back on the left side. This is the exit defect associated to the entrance wound that I just described on the left side of the chest, not the one near the central portion, but the left upper chest,
The higher one.
the higher one, correct.
And state's exhibit 336.
So in this particular photograph, towards the top of the photograph is chest. You can see some chest hair. And then what you're seeing on the lower aspect of the photograph below the ruler is the abdominal region on the right side. And that is the exit defect for the gunshot wound that entered near the midline on the chest.
A downward trajectory.
State's exhibit 337.
Probably was on their knees begging for their life
Falling
So,
down.
or falling down.
in this particular photograph, on the top of the photograph, you're seeing the body from the right side. And this is what we call anterolateral. So if you look at the thigh, proximally meaning upper thigh, a little bit anterior, but a little bit to the right side, that's the anterolateral aspect. That's an entrance gunshot wound defect.
And state's exhibit 338.
So in this particular photograph, you're looking at the right thigh again, but a little bit from the posterolateral aspect. So if you look at the thigh from the right side and you look at the lateral aspect, which is, of the thigh, then you move slightly backwards. or posteriorly, and that is the exit defect of this gunshot wound pathway.
And
I didn't hear her say that it hit his heart or brain.
Multiple gunshot wounds.
what happens when a bullet snow? What is a bullet snowstorm?
When so different firearms, different projectiles, different calibers, they when they course through the body, they look differently. In the case of rifles, which are high velocity firearms, the projectiles tend to break down as it enters the body, hits the person. It tends to fragment and break down as it goes through the wound pathway. And when we take an X-ray of the body, we can see that it's called snowstorm, right? That's what it looks like. The projectiles are the radiopaque fragments of the, fractured projectile, and it leaves like a cloud of metal or fragments throughout the pathways.
And showing you States Exhibit 339. Just what fragments look like in the snowstorm.
Those are two fragments that I collected from the pathways, and yes, that's what they look when they're fragmented.
Right now, they're gonna- on that day, Dr. Sneed, did you
Please don't go into detail of how they
I
died.
did.
and who did you perform that other autopsy?
I'm sure they probably will.
Pt.2.
Showing you States Exhibit 115, it's already been used.
Yes.
Now I want to show you States Exhibits 20U, 20T, 20S, 20R, 20Q, 20P, 20O, 20N, 20M, 20L, 20K, 20J, 20I.
This will be a good time for a trigger warning if anyone is sensitive to graphic detail if they do go into that.
And let me know if you
Yeah,
recognize things in conjunction with your-
I don't have Cherry in my chat right now, but I can verbalize that. Just brace yourselves for some graphic details of some horrible fatalities and injuries.
The last one would have been a quick one, but this one definitely not.
Central Florida mommies, I think that they find the strength to deal with this because of the justice that they are looking to see served.
Yes.
With these photographs of the autopsy of Peter Wang, assist you in explaining to
The parents that you see there now have been waiting 4 years for this.
wounds,
Right.
Yes.
the path of the bullets,
Correct.
and the cause of death of Peter Wang.
And this is part of their justice, seeing him hang his head in remorse and have to listen to this. This is part of their justice. You have to sit there and listen to this as much as we do, because we're not talking about a sociopath here. I at least, I mean, I'm not a mental health professional, but I'm not getting that
No,
vibe
I
from
don't
him.
think so.
I think he's just a dumb
This
kid
will be
who's probably-
tormenting him big time now.
Yeah. And even if he gets life in prison, he's going to be in a very tiny cell locked down for 23 hours a day. He's not going to be in general population with other inmates, and he's going to be stuck with nothing but his nightmares. You do poll, Annabella. Do a poll on what?
What are we polling?
Right.
Is there any additional objection? Okay.
Oh, I did one of those the other day. It's all the same people in here. Most people feel he's going to get it. He's going to get the death penalty. I mean, it just common sense kind of dictates it. You know, like the defense has basically nothing.
I think he will get death. The more I hear, I want him to get death, but I want it to be something like firing squad. But I still want him to suffer. So I think while he's on death row, he's going to suffer.
I think most definitely it doesn't matter what the method is. I mean, he's not going to get death by a firing squad. That doesn't happen. But
don't they get the choice now?
Not in Florida, not that I know of. I never heard of that.
I thought someone was saying the other day, last week, that Florida is one of those states where they get the choice of method.
I don't think that firing squad is a thing anywhere anymore in the United States. I've never even heard of that. Not since like World War I, you know. All right, now you guys got me wondering.
Electric chair could be cool.
Over the defense objection states 20G, as in George, will be received as 340. 20H will be received as 341. 20I will be received as 342. 20J will be received as 343.
Injection is
20K
too
will be
quick and
received as
painless.
344. 20L will be received as 345. 20M as in Mary, 346. 20N as in Nancy, 347. 20O,
Especially after hearing that last one.
20P, 349.
Okay, so firing squad. There are 4 states where you can be executed by firing squad. That's Mississippi, Oklahoma, Utah, and South Carolina.
Like Tom, 353.
Dang.
And 20U.
Electrocution, Florida. You can still, it happens in Florida. I'm just going to read what is available in Florida, basically.
Yep.
Lethal injection is the most common. That's used almost everywhere, but and so
Yeah.
Florida is
So
definitely
it
one
was
of those.
reported that he was 15.
Lethal gas is not
years
used,
of age.
so the gas chamber is not a thing anymore,
Yes,
except
for
for
that.
in Alabama, Arizona,
What was he as, the
California,
age
Mississippi,
and-
Missouri, Oklahoma,
Yes,
Wyoming.
he was 61 inches.
And
so that's
hanging
5'1".
is also not available in Florida.
Did you say weight?
So the only ones in
Weight
Florida that are
128
available
pounds.
that are allowed are electrocution and lethal injection in Florida. He has those 2 choices.
Being the pussy he is, he'll go with the injection.
Oh, for sure.
Dr. Sneed, I want to show you Stakes Exhibit Mark 340. Tell me about that.
Yeah, as of March of 2022,
So-
You can wanna use the
firing
color
squad can
here.
be done in South Carolina.
It's on the screen.
Oh, okay. So I just put something, okay, got it. So what this photograph shows is the right side of Mr. Wang's face and the right side of the head. And it shows on the, what we call the temporal region, which is superior and anterior to the ear. This is an entrance gunshot wound. And on the right cheek, you can see that there's two entry defects, one smaller and one larger, which looks atypical.
Okay, and what did that wound do?
The wound on the right temporal region perforates the cranium, and it creates a severe damage on the head. He has these burst type injuries, meaning multiple cranial fractures.
Ouch.
I have to say that that wound in association to another wound, which is not really shown in this photograph, but it's on the parietal region, a little bit higher. Those two wounds, the pathways coalesce, right?
And the jury
And
seeing
so
these
they
images
spent a lot of energy
is
in the head,
not
creating
good
these
for
fractures,
him.
creating the lacerations of the brain, creating
Definitely
transsectional
not.
parts of the brain. Parts of the brain were outside of the cranial vault. And then that led to a very large
If any of you
exit
guys have seen the
defect
photos
that
of
involved the left side of
John
the
F.
head,
Kennedy,
which you can see in there.
you've got an idea.
That's,
The wound that
Yeah,
you
those
said
are
was
rough.
higher, could you show where potentially removed on this?
it's not really shown here, but it's around there.
Right there,
Yes,
but that's another entrance wound to his head.
correct.
Jesus, look at these parents, man.
Stakes Exhibit, did it exit?
So there were multiple fragments snow storming, right, in the head when I looked at the x-ray. But these two defects are associated with what we call a gaping exit defect. It's a very large opening of the head on the left side.
Wow.
So sometimes we can see an actual defined exit wound defect, but in this particular case, due to the severity of the injuries, there was no well-defined exit defects for those two wounds on the right parietal and right temporal scalp.
And the wound to the cheek?
So there's two defects, one that's round, right here, and then one that's, you can see it, that one that's larger. And those two projectile fragments or projectile perforated the cheek, it fractured the jaw, it perforated the tongue, it fractured the left side of the jaw, and then both of them exited through another gaping large defect that's on the left side of the face near the cheek that you can't see on this photograph.
Well, Steve, that's why this was so important that he was caught alive, because these mass shooters are hardly ever caught alive.
340,
So now
now
that there's an example of somebody who doesn't get to die on their terms, then maybe this will help deter someone doing this in the future.
How do I erase? I'm sorry.
It would be good, but unfortunately, because of the fact that people know that most don't survive it,
So
Um,
what you're seeing on this photograph is
I don't know
the
how
left
much
side
of an
the-
effect that's going to
So the
have.
two defects in the parietal and temporal region coalesce, and the energy, that is spent created.
Sorry, I thought my
this
mic was off while I was
very
chewing.
large exit wound.
Well,
you can see that there are lacerations of the skin.
like I
scalp,
said, there's
and you can see
hopefully the difference between it
fragmented
being on
bone
their
in some
terms
areas,
and on
then fragments of
society's
brain
terms
tissue
would help deter,
that came out of
them
the
from,
cranial
Yeah.
vault.
it takes
On
away their
the,
little blaze of glory
left
fantasy
cheek
that they have,
anterior to the ear
where okay, well, I'm
is
just
the
gonna
exit
do
wound
myself in,
or
or
the two
I'm gonna
entries
go
that
out with a
cause
bunch of
through
cops
the,
shooting me down.
oral cavity and
That's all.
perforated bone
That's
to
out the
at
window when they have to
at the
sit
cranial
here
base, which is,
in a
we have
sentencing trial
hanging
like
balls,
this
and we still have
and
bones in
be
this
judged
area,
by
so it fractured
society
those
and by
bones
the
as well.
rules that they were so rebelling
And then they
against.
both come out. And again, there's no well-defined exit defect with the amount of energy that was, spent in these tissues.
Now showing you State's Exhibit 341.
So that's this wound is showing the previously described entry defects on the cheek, and then it's
'Cause
showing.
let's
1,
face the
2,
facts, like,
3, 4 defects on
These
the.
people are
And you're
cowards.
looking at the right
You
side
know,
of
at the end of the
chest, near
day,
the shoulder
they're
region,
they're
part of the chest,
cowards.
and those are
You
exit
know,
wounds
Yeah.
they don't have
from
the
a
stomach
projectile that fragmented,
to sit
right?
there in a
You have
courtroom
multiple tears or exits of those
and have to
projectiles
relive
and
the
fractured bone.
consequences and have to
Um,
relive the actions
entry
that
for
they've
that is
taken on
lower.
others.
So those are exit wounds on the chest.
They don't count on that.
State's Exhibit
They don't count on having to sit in a cell. They don't count on having to
Right.
face the parents. They don't count on any of that.
Here, right. So this is the entrance gunshot wound defect that went through the soft tissues and fractured bones and perforated muscles, and then fragmented and exited through the right side of the chest.
and State's Exhibit 344. It's a close-up of that. Why did those exit wounds look that?
Why do they look that big? Why do they look that wide? Is that the question?
I'm sorry?
I didn't understand the question. Are you asking
No, why do those exit wounds look like that?
why? Yes. So rifle injuries tend to have a lot of, they're high velocity, and the more velocity, the more energy, what they call kinetic energy, is spent in the tissues. And it's not like one size fits all. Not all entries look the same, not all exits look the same. Part of the reason why these tissues tend to look different is, one, because it depends on how many times the projectile fragmented and exited. It also depends if the projectile takes bone with it on the way out. And also it depends on the density of the muscle and the elasticity of the skin. So, for example, in this area on the chest and near the axilla, the skin is a little bit more lax, right? The density of the muscle also comes into play. And when you have all that energy, the projectile creates what's called a temporary cavity. So it's not only that it perforates, it's not only the pathway through which it goes. I should have explained this with the head. It's also the energy that the projectile imparts.
No,
into
bubblegum. This is not
creates
a
an
definite
expansion
for the
of
death
sorts of the
penalty.
tissues,
This is
right?
a
And that
trial
expansion
to
leads to
determine
injuries
by
that look
jury
like that.
whether or not he gets the death penalty or gets life in prison without the possibility of parole. But it's not looking good for him at all.
So
Like,
what you're looking
the
at in this
defense isn't
photograph
hardly putting
is-
up any much
so
of an
this is
much of an
towards the
argument at
back.
all.
This is
So
the right hip, and this is the buttock region. And so this is a entrance gunshot wound defect below the
Pretty
buttock.
much the only thing that they can hope and pray for is that someone on the
That
jury
particular
is completely against the
projectile
death
goes
penalty.
through the soft tissues and it fractured. Let me refer to my notes. I believe the acetabulum.
there
Give me
is
one
that
second to refer to
possibility
my notes,
because
please.
it only takes one juror. They have to be unanimous when it comes to this. So if one juror
The acetabulum
is
and the
anti-death
iliac bone.
penalty
So
and says no, I don't
where
want this
your
person's
hip
death on
bone,
my hands,
we have, the hip bone
then
has an area
he gets
where
life in
the,
prison without the possibility of parole. It's
the
decided
femur,
just
which
like
is
that.
the long bone of the
So it's
thigh,
not like
connects with it.
a majority
That
vote.
little
It has to be
area that
100%
receives
unanimous.
The head of the femur is called the acetabulum, and then the bone superior to that is called the iliac bone. So this particular pathway fractures those bones as well, and then the wound exits through the right side of the abdomen.
Showing you State's Exhibit 346.
Yes. So what we're seeing here, so this is the
Man, there's a lot of bleeding hearts out there, Live Thankful. You never
I'm
know.
sorry, for some reason. There you go. And this is the right hip area here, and you can see this is the lower abdomen, and you can see this defect. This is the exit defect for that entrance that was posterior below the buttock. And there were fragments underneath the skin, and that's what's creating, well, this bruise here.
But I don't think somebody who is against the death penalty, I mean, I'm sure there was a lot of jury selection
what we're
going on. I don't think
seeing on
anybody
this,
who's against the death penalty would have even made it on the
this
jury
photograph,
unless they lied to
This is
get
the
on
entry
there.
wound that I previously described, right, below the buttock. Here you see the top of the.
I mean, if they have to
this is the top of
decide
the
based
thigh,
on evidence
this is
presented,
the hip area,
then
this is the knee
that's
area,
what they have to decide
and on
on.
the
It's
lateral
quite easy
aspect
for
of
them
the
to
right
get
knee,
on. They just have to
thigh,
be able to
you see the
say
entry
that
wound
they
defect,
promised
and
to
this
keep an
went
open
through
mind.
the soft tissues and muscles,
Sure,
and
but
exited
I mean,
through a defect
what's the likelihood
that
of
was
that?
more what we call
Yeah.
proximal or more superior on the
Well, hey,
thigh.
perfect example. Last week when I first came on, what was my first reaction? I was hell
So
no. I want him to
on the top of the thigh is the
suffer in
previously
prison the
described
rest of his
wounds.
life.
What you're seeing
Right.
Now,
here
after
is
hearing
the
this, I'm like, get rid
another
of him.
defect on the right
Yeah.
right foot, on the right side of the foot, which I identified as an exit gunshot wound defect, and not really
Oh, a lot
well
of people
seen
are
Especially
already
after the
saying
last
that.
victim
on the
she was
back
talking about.
of the heel.
Right. I mean, and that's the Annabella, there, you know, that's the overall argument with these mass
So,
shooters is,
on the top of the
you know,
photograph, you
we
see his
have to
head,
do
and
more
this
about
is
mental
his
health.
right shoulder region.
I'm just
This
no.
defect is an entrance
I'm not
gunshot
saying that
wound,
we
and
shouldn't
it's on the back
help
of
people with
the
mental
right
health
arm.
disabilities, but I don't think that these acts fall under
So this
mental health
this particular
disabilities as
gunshot
an
wound
excuse
goes through
for what
fractures
they're
in the
doing.
humerus,
Yeah,
which
they're
is
not
the
as simple as
spinal
mental
bone,
health.
and it
Right. It just
continues
doesn't
through the
boil
soft
down to that.
tissues, and so the pathway
Like
of
everything
this
is a mental
particular
health
gunshot wound
issue.
coalesces or comes in contact, right, with the exit wounds that I previously described on the right side of the chest that enter on the right side of the lateral aspect of the chest.
Well, because like, listen, if nowadays, look, nowadays there's always a psychological term for literally everything. Does that make it an excuse just because there's a psychological term for it? Because before, being a narcissistic personality, somebody who has narcissistic personality disorder, they used to just be considered a shitty person, especially if there's no cure for it. There's not even treatment for narcissistic personality disorder. Like, how do you treat it? You know what I mean? Like, there's no treatment for it. They know how to manipulate doctors. They know how to manipulate everybody. That's their whole thing.
Yeah.
So do they get excused? Like, at the end of the day, that's just a psychological term for calling somebody a complete and total selfish asshole who's a bad person. You know, like, at the end of the day, that's all that is. So because we slapped a psychological label on it, we get to act like it's an excuse that needs to be treated and worked on and studied, and you know, and no, like, there's always been bad people. That's a bad person, you know, who didn't think of other people and didn't consider how he was destroying people's lives and their families' lives. And just because he wanted to be Instagram famous, come on, that's just a shitty person. And the fact that, don't tell me just now that he's remorseful about it, that it doesn't make him a shitty person. He should have thought of that in the first place. He should have considered that.
Yeah.
The fact that he failed to consider that in the first place makes him a shitty person.
The fact that he planned it out so long in advance,
Right.
was able to film the videos saying he was going to do it, he had plenty of time to reach out for help.
Absolutely. He had plenty of time to consider his actions and how they would affect others.
We haven't shown here Another 2 defects that were atypical on the back of the left forearm, elbow region. That they were not like a perforating wound, but they had, they look like ballistic type of wounds, right? Something hits and then the fragments may have hit that area. It wasn't going through and through. In total, it was 12.
And of those 12,
The worst part about this is all these families wouldn't have got a chance to really say goodbye to
4
these
hit
kids.
of the
There's
head.
no way they could have had an open casket.
and,
No.
with the court's permission, I'll play for you a portion of the video, and you can tell me, you can give me an opinion.
Like,
as to
look at these
some of
people.
the wounds, when they,
They're not feeling bad for anybody here. They're angry. They are simply focused on justice.
Objection to S19, please.
I'm surprised no one has tried to rush him yet. Even
Look,
I
now
wanted
he's-
to reach through the screen and
now
punch
he's-
him in the throat, the last one.
Right. Did you just see him right now? He's sitting there playing with his coffee cup. He's just bored. Like this part of this whole thing should be affecting him more than any other part of the entire trial.
Yeah.
Hearing what he actually,
I mean,
hearing the details of how he destroyed these people, and he's sitting there bored, reading the top of his coffee cup. Like, I wonder where this plastic was manufactured at. Duh. You know, I mean, come on, man. This is not. He's not taking this seriously at all.
this person that she's talking about, it's clearly obvious what the injuries and that were. But the last one, I don't think he understands exactly what the deal was.
But yeah, it's a question of, does he care to understand?
Yeah. I mean, the person before, I feel more sorry for the person before this one. Yes, they had their head blown open, but it would have been quick and instant. The
All right,
person
listen,
before...
let me address something real quick. Laura Nelson, let me explain to you how this works. I'm streaming I'm streaming the trial that doesn't have any commentary over it. The people who are here watching this are watching this for the commentary as well as the testimony. And right now there's no testimony going on. But we have an understanding that there is. Now, if you want all the gruesome details of how someone was murdered and how their brains splattered and exited their skulls and fractured their skulls, and you want all those gory details, you're more than welcome to go to many of the news channels that are streaming this content. But people log on to this because they want to hear our commentary on it as well. So you have
and
that
by
option.
law, we have to.
Right,
It's called
exactly.
fair use.
It under what fair use dictates, we have to talk over it. So yeah.
But yeah, definitely. If you want to hear the medical examiner explain how, the previous person suffocated and bled to death for however long it took for them to pass, cool.
And maybe they'll teach you grammar and how to capitalize when you get over there, just so you know. Lowercase Laura. I know that was a cheap shot. That was so petty. Lowercase Laura. Sounds like a garbage pail kid.
I hope the feedback I'm giving people is helpful.
It is to me.
And taking away some of the graphic, gory details that the medical examiner will be describing, because it is exactly that. And
Right.
as someone who has been first response to graphic injuries like that, it's not pretty. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. So
Yeah, I mean, if you've been following this case, that's the reason why why I have you up here. So it's just not me up here just making wisecracks the whole time.
Doctor, were you able to see purposeful movement?
Yes, in all the videos.
So, in your opinion, what does that indicate to you as to the progression of the wounds into the body and why?
That he sustained some of the wounds before the lethal wounds on the head.
So he was wounded on the ground
Uh.
and he received the four.
I didn't want to hear that.
Correct.
It looks like he was wounded after he came running towards the end, and he was, from the video, it appears that he was also wounded when he was on the ground. Yes.
Because either one of those four shots, he wouldn't have been able to move.
Correct.
And you have seen photographs of the area where Mr. Wang was shot, correct?
Correct.
I don't think anyone can steal Cherry's thunder, Squirrel.
Oh yeah, it's not.
The face of that dad, dead smack in the middle, says it all. He's looking at the photos.
Yeah, he's been. The gentleman up front can't look at it. He keeps looking away.
What does that indicate to you?
Can you, yes, thank you. So in this photograph, you can see that he has a dense area of blood spatter and brain fragmentation on the wall and around his head, and all the brain matter that came through those gaping defects in the area. So that speaks to having his head being shot close to the floor, at the floor.
And lastly, State's Exhibit 352.
So he had, you can see on the x-ray the snowstorm, but I was able to collect two larger fragments of projectile from the head.
Okay. And State's Exhibit 353.
God, I can't even imagine having to do that job.
Those were the fragments that I recovered from the abdomen, from the entry defect below.
I can't imagine being that girl I was talking about last week that played dead laying underneath one of the students. She said when she finally got out, they wouldn't let her hug her mum because they had to comb the brain matter out of her hair.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine being one of the responding officers, responding.
We are going to end early today.
Any of the first responders. I couldn't imagine.
Tomorrow, and like every day,
I can't imagine being on a jury.
with anyone, nor permit anyone to say anything
Okay, I
to
think she's
you
wrapping
or
it
in
up
your
just
presence about
for the rest of the
case.
day. So
Anyone attempts to
She
say
is, yeah.
anything to you or in your presence about the case,
That
tell the
case I
person
was
stop
mentioning last week
and
about
report
the
the matter
mother
immediately
here in
to one of
Cairns
the staff.
that
Other than
murdered
that,
her
I hope
8
you all
children.
have a nice
Um,
afternoon.
I
And
I
please leave
went
your cell
and
phones
looked
behind,
after
and we
the
will see
first
you tomorrow at
responders
the same time.
for that scene,
Thank you
taking
so
them
much.
food, water, and just being there for them when they were processing the scene. And none of those guys will be the same again.
yeah, I can't even imagine being a juror and having to look at the photos. You know,
Yeah.
I don't want to see that. I just want to see justice done. I don't want to. I don't. I can't imagine having that pressure. You know.
The last person I pronounced was my mum, who passed of sepsis. She had a pressure wound in her back that became septic. I pronounced her. The one before that was a pedestrian that was hit by a vehicle going, I think they were going about 90 to 110 kilometers per hour.
How much
And when
is
I
that
got to
in
him, and
miles? Yeah,
good question, stupid
we don't.
fast.
Yeah, oh yeah, I figured. Yeah, we don't do the metric system here, so we don't know.
Hey
I don't know
Google,
kilometers.
that's 90 kilometers in miles.
90 kilometers is equivalent to 55.923 miles.
52, about 53 miles per hour.
That's very fast. Yeah, that's full speed. So I've got this pulled up. This is the actual arrest. The only one that I saw that was the full length was from Law and Crime. That's like it's 4 minutes long. This is 2 minutes long. So
Yeah,
best I can
this
do,
is
but I'm
pretty
not
much
doing
it.
long.
Yeah,
All right, so let's go ahead
this
and
is
take a
pretty
look.
much the full. Yeah, there wasn't much to it.
What's going on? What's going on today, bro?
The demons, man.
Demons?
Voices.
Voices. Voices and demons?
Where's the voices?
Yeah, bullshit.
What happened?
Shut up.
Just be quiet, man.
Shut up.
There's the voices.
Like, you know, he asked him like what's going on just to get him talking, because they know that the body cam footage is admissible in court. You know, it's all evidence. And so so as soon as he starts acting crazy, they're just like, all right, shut up. We already know what you're trying to pull now, so shut the fuck up.
They'll
We're not
play
buying
this,
it.
and then they'll play the video that he posted up on social media, and it will be, yeah, no.
Right,
You
exactly.
didn't hear voices in your head, dude. You well and
Right.
truly planned it out and announced it on social media that you're going to do it.
I'm also on. Hey. How are you? Huh? Yeah.
Like, he's so lucky that those cops are wearing body cams and have dash cams.
Yeah.
Like, he's so lucky. Yeah, he just turned it off too. Let me see what we got here. Hold on.
Especially if they had been around the school.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we haven't watched this yet. We haven't watched this yet.
Sheriff's Office main jail. The cameras recorded
This is the
congested
video I was
shooter
telling you
Cruz
about.
pacing around city
Yeah.
jails. Just before 6 p.m., Cruz became animated, talking to BSO Detention Sergeant Raymond Beltran. Apparently, Beltran complained about Cruz dragging his sandals. Cruz gave him the finger, then rushed him and started a fight. Investigators say Cruz took the sergeant's stun gun, but no one was hit by it. The fight lasted more than 45 seconds. Beltran eventually gained the upper hand and put Cruz in cuffs. He led Cruz away. Court documents shed more light on what led
No,
to
Cruz
Cruz's
gave
action.
up.
In the days after the attack, court records show Cruz's public
I mean,
defender wrote an email to BSO saying, I have been reflecting on how this situation could have been different had you or the BSO taken action when I brought to your attention about Sergeant Beltran supervising Mr. Cruz. The public defender said a month earlier she alerted BSO about growing friction between Cruz and the detention sergeant. The public defender asked if BSO could limit the interaction.
Oh my God,
between
dude,
Cruz
he's
and
a little
Beltran.
MMA fucker.
The BSO says there was no formal allegation of any policy
Yep.
violation by Sergeant
Told you he
Beltran.
can defend himself.
BSO's director
You
of the
see a
detention
fucking hammer
department
fisting
responded
him?
forcefully to Cruz's lawyer. Court documents show he wrote, inmates housed in Broward County Sheriff's Office, Department of Detention Custody, do not get afforded the opportunity to select the staff that supervises them. I will not allow any inmate in our custody the opportunity to try and manipulate who supervises them and when they do so.
Hell yeah.
BSO said blame for the attack centered on one person. It could have been avoided if inmate Nikolas Cruz did not choose to violently attack a sworn deputy sheriff.
Yep.
That sergeant no longer has contact with inmates at the moment. He was placed on administrative assignment following a DUI arrest last March in Washington State. Sources
There
tell
you
CBS
go.
4 News he was in that area to transport a
May
prisoner
have
back
been
to
wise
Broward.
not to have him around
The video
any.
from the jail attack highlights another issue.
Right.
The video shows that it took about 2 minutes for other detention deputies to arrive at the scene of the attack. A law enforcement source told CBS 4 News that typically that response time would be about 20 to 30 seconds, and that this case was an exception, not the rule.
They probably hated that guy. They probably thought he was an asshole. And they were like, let's let him get his ass kicked for a minute. They probably hated that guard.
Yep. I dare say so.
Wow.
Because they'd be watching him so damn closely that they would have been in there before he even had a chance to get him on the ground.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
They wanted him to have his ass kicked by the little dweeb.
Somebody was watching that camera. I guarantee you somebody was watching that camera and hold on, my bad.
He's back.
Yeah, like he called the other dude over, like, dude, check this out. Look at this. Look at this. He's like, oh, get him, get on top of him. All right, we better get in there. Come on, let's go.
Yeah. Notice they get in there as soon as Nick gave up and the other officer managed to get him in cuffs. They get in there to make sure that he doesn't retaliate.
Right. And you could see their sense of urgency once they got in there. You know, they were just so what's going on, buddy? You got it? You all right? But yeah, I mean, if the guy's
can you imagine him in the lunchroom after?
I mean, yeah. If you
the other guards, you just got your ass handed to you by Nikolas Cruz.
By the fucking pussy school shooter, dude. Like, what are you even working here for?
I'll have to send you my playlist of all the videos that I've got from it all. I'll send you the link through Instagram messages.
Let's watch this bullshit right here. Hold on.
Or present at this time.
No, Nikolas Cruz was like a mini MMA fighter.
May I take off my mask? I am very sorry for what I did, and I have to live with it every day. And that if I were to get a second chance, I will do everything in my power to try to help others. And I am doing this for you, and I do not care if you do not believe me. And I love you, and I know you don't believe me, but I have to live with this every day, and it brings me nightmares, and I can't live with myself sometimes, but I try to push through because I know that's what you guys would want me to do. I hate drugs, and I believe this country would do better if everyone would stop smoking marijuana and doing all these drugs
What?
and causing racism and violence out in the streets. I'm sorry, and I can't even watch TV anymore. And I'm trying my best to maintain my composure, and I just want you to know I'm really sorry. And I hope you give me
No, you
a
regret
chance
that. All that screams is
try
that
to
he,
help others. If I believe it's your decision to decide where I go and whether I live or die, not the jury's. I believe it's your decision. I'm sorry.
yeah, that's bullshit.
Okay, anyone
Nah.
else?
Yeah.
That's, I mean, that showed remorse for being caught, not his actions. So, no, dude,
That
sorry,
didn't
bro.
even show remorse for being caught. That was just him trying to talk out his butt to.
Right.
He was talking so fast that it was like the families would have been. What did he even say?
All right, let's. Hold on. We're gonna watch this one more time.
That was definitely premedicated. He was on speed or something.
Hello.
Yeah, this is how sorry he is,
My name is
guys.
Nick, and I'm going to be the next school shooter of 2018. My goal is at least 20 people with an AR-15 and a couple tracer rounds. I think I could get done. Location is Stone Douglas in Parkland, Florida. It's going to be a big event. And when you see me on the news, you'll all know who I am. You're all going to die. Pew, 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 pew. Yeah. Can't wait. Today is the day that it all begins. The day of my massacre shall begin. All the kids in school will
Was
run
this
in fear
before
and
or
hide.
after the Scream Killers?
From the wrath of my power, they will know who I am. I am nothing. I am no one. My life is nothing and meaningless. Everything that I hold dear, I let go beyond your half. Every day I see the world ending another day. I live a lone life, live in seclusion and solitude. I hate everyone and everything. With the power of my AR, you will all know who I am. I had enough of being told what to do and when to do. I had enough of telling me that I'm an idiot and a dumbass. But in real life, you're all the dumbass. You're all stupid and brainwashed by these political government programs. You will all see, you will all know who my name is. My love for you, Angie, will never go away. I hope to see you in the afterlife. When one day or another, you will end and we'll all die. Alright, so here's the plan. I'm going to go take an Uber in the afternoon before 2:40. From there, I'll go into school campus, walk up the stairs, unload my bags, and get my AR and shoot people down at the main courtyard. I'll wait, and people will die.
Yep. I think that's all we need to know, folks. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up. Again, Matt Bond, thanks for joining me. I think we'll continue this tomorrow.
No problem.
Guys, thanks for joining me in chat. Do me a favor before you leave, hit the like button for me. If you're not subscribed, subscribe, please. And we will do this again very, very soon, my friends.
I think Angie was his adopted mum, wasn't it? I'll have to double check that one.